He was the trusted mechanic in the village, the man who promised your car would run like new. But what they didn't know was that every time they drove away, their vehicles were already set to fail. The cars they thought were fixed were sabotaged, and while they suffered, he grew richer. But now, it was all about to unravel. And for some, it might already be too late. The village of Ogunde was nestled between rolling hills, where the lush green forest met the dusty roads that connected its heart to the outside world. In this peaceful village stood a mechanic shop that had become the lifeblood of the community. It was run by Juma, a man whose reputation stretched far beyond Ogunde. For years, Juma had been known as the one to trust with their precious vehicles. His hands were quick, his repairs swift, and his smile never faltered. He was more than just a mechanic. He was the guardian of the villagers' cars. He'd always greet them with a warm smile and reassure them that their problems were nothing. "Don't worry," he'd say. "I'll fix it. You're on your way in no time." To the people of Ogunde, Juma was an expert. He wasn't just fixing engines, he was keeping them safe, keeping them on the road, and most importantly, keeping them alive. What they didn't know, however, was that Juma was hiding a dark secret. Juma's shop was always busy. There were cars coming and going every day, from early morning to late at night. But as time passed, things began to change. It started small, a car battery that lasted only a few months instead of a year, an engine part that wore out a lot quicker than expected. But Juma assured his customers that it was just the wear and tear of the roads, the constant dust and bumps. The villagers accepted this, for they trusted him. They had no reason to doubt. What they didn't know was that Juma had been replacing the original car parts with fake subpar pieces. He would carefully remove the original components, knowing they were worth a fortune on the black market, and replace them with cheap knockoffs. Then he would sell the original parts to other mechanics or resell them to traders in the nearby city. The first real signs of trouble came when Kwame, a farmer, came to Juma's shop for a brake repair. His old truck, reliable and strong, had been with him for years. He trusted Juma to fix the brakes, thinking nothing of it. But a few weeks later, while driving down a steep hill, Kwame's brakes failed. His heart pounded in his chest as he desperately tried to stop the truck, but the brakes gave way. He swerved off the road just in time, narrowly avoiding a crash. When he returned to Juma's shop, furious and scared for his life, Juma simply shrugged. "Ah, Kwame, it's the roads. You know how bad they are. Your truck is getting old and things like this happen." But Kwame wasn't convinced. He had trusted Juma. Had he been betrayed? He went to another mechanic, who immediately noticed the brake pads were not new. In fact, they were old and had been reused. The realization hit him like a hammer. Juma had been stealing from him. The brake pads he had been sold were part of a larger scam, part of a system where Juma was replacing every component of a car with cheaper parts while profiting from the original parts. Kwame wasn't the only one who noticed. As more villagers started experiencing similar issues, cars breaking down unexpectedly, parts failing too soon, rumors spread like wildfire. Something was terribly wrong. Among the villagers, there was one elder whose wisdom could not be questioned. Baba Lamin, known for his deep understanding of life's truths, was the one people turned to for answers. He had seen the world, and he had learned how greed could rot a person from the inside out. One evening, Baba Lamin entered Juma's shop. Juma, busy as always, was working on a car. But Baba Lamin stood still, watching him for a long moment. There was something about the mechanic's movements, his hurried pace, his false smiles, that didn't sit well with the elder. "Juma," Baba Lamin said quietly, without turning his gaze from the car. "You're fast with your hands, but how steady is your heart?" Juma froze for a moment, then laughed nervously. "Baba, you always speak in riddles." Baba Lamin's gaze never wavered. "The villagers are speaking, Juma. Their cars are breaking down faster than you can fix them. Do you not see?" Juma chuckled, though there was a hint of unease in his voice. "The roads, Baba. The roads are tough. It's not my fault." But Baba Lamin wasn't convinced. He knew that the truth was often hidden behind layers of deceit. "Beware, my son. Greed has a way of eating at a man's soul until there is nothing left but emptiness." Juma smiled and dismissed him, but in his heart, a seed of doubt began to sprout. He knew he had been getting away with his deceit for too long, and yet, the fear of getting caught had never truly sunk in. There was one person who had been watching Juma with growing concern: Kofi, his apprentice. Kofi had always looked up to Juma, admired his skill and his charm. But as time passed, he noticed things he couldn't ignore. Kofi had seen Juma remove perfectly functional car parts and replace them with cheap knockoffs. He had watched Juma charge customers for new parts, only to install old, worn-out ones. Kofi's stomach turned as he realized what was happening. The man he had once admired had been betraying everyone around him. One evening, Kofi followed Juma after hours. The mechanic thought he was alone, but Kofi had been following him, and he finally saw it with his own eyes. Juma was moving boxes of stolen car parts into an old, hidden storage shed. Kofi knew he couldn't ignore it any longer. The truth had to come out. He had to do something, or else more people would suffer. The next day, Kofi went to the village elders, holding up a rusty brake pad, the same kind that had failed Kwame's truck. He explained everything: how Juma had been swapping parts and selling the originals, how the villagers had been paying for repairs that never lasted. The elders listened, their faces darkening with anger and disbelief. The villagers gathered, whispers rising in the air, their suspicion now confirmed. Kofi stood at the front of the crowd, trembling but firm. "This is what he has been doing to you. He has been stealing your trust, your money and your safety." Juma, realizing that his secrets were no longer safe, stepped forward, his face flushed with panic. He opened his mouth to speak, to deny everything, but Baba Lamin's voice rang out above the crowd. "It is too late for lies, Juma. The truth is clear now." But just as the villagers were about to confront him, a loud, unexpected noise echoed through the village. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and everyone turned, startled. The mechanic's fate was about to take a darker turn, and everything was about to change.